The restaurant glowed softly under the golden chandeliers, the kind of place where waiters moved like shadows and laughter hummed quietly in the background. The man sitting at the corner table shifted uncomfortably in his chair. His shirt was simple, his sleeves rolled neatly to the elbows, and his phone screen flickered nervously in his hands. He was handsome, but his eyes betrayed something heavier than worry. It was the weight of someone carrying too much and pretending it was light. His name was Daniel. A single dad, holding on to life with both hands, trying not to let anything slip. Tonight was a blind date, set up by a friend who swore he needed to get out there again. But Daniel knew the truth. His wallet held only $50, just enough to cover dinner if he carefully avoided the pricier side of the menu. Anything beyond that, dessert, wine, an unexpected splurge, was impossible. He looked at the menu and his heart sank. Even the simplest entree pushed the limits of his budget. Still, he forced a smile, ready to make the best of it. Across from him sat his date, a polished woman in a sleek red dress. She glanced at her phone more than she glanced at him. The spark that might have been wasn't there. She wanted someone with money, with ease, with status. And as Daniel fumbled with the wine list before discreetly sliding it away, she noticed. Her eyes sharpened with disappointment, and her voice cooled like ice. Minutes later, she excused herself, claiming an urgent call. She never returned. Daniel sat there, staring at the untouched glass of water, embarrassment burning through him. He should have known. He should have stayed home with his daughter, watching cartoons and sharing microwave popcorn. Instead, he was here, in a restaurant far too expensive for his life, alone at another table. A woman had been watching. Not out of pity, but with curiosity that slowly turned into something else. She had noticed the way he looked at the menu, how carefully he counted the prices in his head. She had seen his date's disinterest, the way he shrank slightly but held himself together anyway. Her name was Isabella. She was a CEO, though no one in the room would know it. She preferred quiet dinners to boardrooms sometimes, places where she could breathe without being seen as the woman who had built an empire. Tonight, she came alone, seeking solitude. But instead, her heart tangled with the quiet resilience of a man who thought no one noticed. When the waiter approached Daniel with a sympathetic expression, Isabella stood. Her heels clicked softly against the marble floor as she walked over. Daniel looked up, startled, as she stopped beside his table. "Excuse me," she said gently, her voice warm. "Would you mind if I joined you? I couldn't help but notice your date left." Daniel blinked, caught between surprise and confusion. "Oh, sure, I guess. But you don't have to. I want to," she interrupted, smiling. And before he could protest again, she sat down. The first few minutes were awkward. Daniel wasn't sure what to say, and Isabella didn't reveal much about herself. But slowly, conversation bloomed. He told her about his daughter, the way she drew pictures of superheroes and left them taped to the fridge. He admitted he hadn't been on a date in years because every spare cent went to making sure his little girl had everything she needed. Isabella listened, truly listened. No one had ever looked at him like that, like his words mattered. Her laughter came easily when he cracked a small joke about his daughter insisting on pancakes for dinner, and her eyes softened when he spoke about the nights he stayed awake wondering if he was enough. Dinner arrived, and though Daniel tried to protest, Isabella smoothly took care of the bill, without making it obvious. She asked him what his dreams were, not just as a father, but as a man. And when he faltered, unsure how to answer, she reached across the table and touched his hand. "You're already living the hardest dream," she said softly. "You're raising a child with love. That's worth more than anything." For Daniel, it was as if the world paused. No woman had ever looked at him with that kind of admiration before. By the end of the night, he walked her to the door. The autumn air was crisp, their breaths little clouds in the lamplight. He apologized again for being not much of a date, but Isabella shook her head. "You were the best part of my night," she whispered, and before leaving, she handed him a folded napkin with her number written across it. The next morning, Daniel woke to his daughter jumping on the bed, waving a drawing. It was of him, holding hands with a woman in a blue dress, smiling under a big sun. He froze, staring at it. His daughter grinned. "Daddy, that's the lady you're supposed to meet," she said confidently. Daniel laughed, but inside, something stirred, something fragile, something hopeful. What he didn't know was that Isabella wasn't just a kind stranger. She was the millionaire CEO whose face graced magazine covers, the woman who had the power to change his life. But what she wanted wasn't to rescue him or flaunt her wealth. What she wanted was simple, someone who saw her not as a CEO, but as a woman who longed for love. In Daniel, she found exactly that. And in her, Daniel found something he thought he'd lost long ago, a chance at love, not in spite of his struggles, but because of them. That night in the restaurant, two lives quietly collided. And from that moment, neither would ever be the same.